r/TrueOffMyChest stepsister told me to get over my trauma on road trip, so I left her stranded. I'm pulling over at this gas station and you can figure out your own way to the festival. The words left my mouth so calmly that even I was surprised. My hands weren't shaking anymore as I put the car in park and turned off the engine. Maya's jaw dropped. What? Are you insane? We're literally in the middle of nowhere. I popped the trunk and got out. Belfield isn't nowhere. It's got a Greyhound station and probably Uber drivers. I started pulling her oversized duffel bag and festival gear out of my Honda Civic. You're resourceful. You'll figure it out. You cannot be serious right now. Maya scrambled out of the passenger seat, her perfectly curled blonde hair whipping around her face. Mom and Dave are going to lose their shit when they find out you abandoned me. I set her stuff down on the cracked asphalt and looked at her, really looked at her. At 19, my stepsister had perfected this expression of incredulous entitlement that made my chest tight with familiar anger. The same look she'd given me when I couldn't handle family barbecues. When I'd had to leave her graduation party early. When I'd asked if we could please not watch that particular Netflix show because it had triggers I couldn't deal with. Maybe, I said, fishing her phone charger out of my glove compartment. But you know what? I'm done caring what they think. This whole disaster had started 3 days ago when Mom cornered me in the kitchen, using her special disappointed voice. Asterisk, it would mean so much to Maya if you drove her to summer waves. She's been looking forward to this for months. And it would be good bonding time for you too, asterisk. I tried to explain that 8 hours trapped in a car with Maya sounded like actual hell, but Dad, well, Dave, my stepdad, had chimed in about how I needed to make more effort with family. How Maya was just young and didn't understand what I'd been through. How it wasn't fair to hold her personality against her forever. The guilt trip worked, obviously. It always did. So here we were, 4 hours into what should have been an 8-hour drive, and I was done. Completely, utterly done. This is because of your little episode at the rest stop, isn't it? Maya's voice had that edge it got when she was about to say something cruel. God, I barely said anything. Asterisk, stop being dramatic and get over it already. We're going to be late and Cassie's expecting us for the pre-party, asterisk. That's what she'd said when she found me hyperventilating behind the visitor center, after that family with the screaming toddler had triggered something deep and ugly in my chest. When my vision had gone sparkly and I couldn't breathe and the world felt like it was tilting sideways. Asterisk, it happened 6 years ago. You can't use it as an excuse forever, asterisk. You're right, I told her now, getting back into my driver's seat. You barely said anything. That's exactly the problem. Maya stepped closer to my window, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely panicked. Okay, look, maybe I was a little harsh back there, but... a little harsh. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Maya, you told me to get over my trauma because it was inconveniencing your festival schedule. I didn't say it like that. You said it exactly like that. I started the engine. Maya grabbed my door handle. Please don't do this. I'll apologize, okay? I'll be better. Just don't leave me here. For a second, looking at her face, I almost wavered. Almost. But then I remembered all the other times she'd promised to be better. After she'd made jokes about my therapy appointments at family dinner. After she'd rolled her eyes when I couldn't handle the 4th of July fireworks. After she told her friends I was kind of unstable. Yeah, I'd overheard that conversation through her bedroom door. You'll be better until it's inconvenient again, I said, gently pulling my door closed. I'm not doing this anymore, Maya. Wait. She was practically yelling now, drawing stares from the other people at the gas pumps. What am I supposed to tell Mom and Dave? What am I supposed to tell my friends? Through my rolled-up window, I could see her phone buzzing incessantly in her hand. Probably Cassie wondering where they were. Maya had been texting updates about their ETA every 30 minutes since we'd left home, treating me like her personal chauffeur. I lowered the window just enough to speak. Tell them whatever you want. Tell them I had a breakdown. Tell them I'm crazy. You've been saying it for years anyway. I never said you were crazy. You didn't have to. Maya's face was flushed now, that perfect Instagram-ready makeup starting to smudge around her eyes. This is so typical of you, you know that? Making everything about your feelings. Punishing everyone else because you can't handle normal life. And there it was. The real Maya, stripped of her performative concern. The relief I felt hearing her show her true colors was almost worth the guilt clawing at my stomach. You're right, I said. I can't handle normal life. But I'm done pretending that's my fault. My phone started ringing, Mom's contact photo filling the screen. Maya must have called her already. My stomach dropped, but I declined the call and immediately switched my phone to airplane mode. Oh, so now you're just going to ignore Mom too? Maya stepped back from the car, crossing her arms. Real mature, Emma. Super healthy coping mechanism. She wasn't wrong about that, but I was past caring about healthy coping mechanisms. I'd spent 4 years in therapy learning healthy coping mechanisms, and where had it gotten me? Still getting steamrolled by my family. Still prioritizing everyone else's comfort over my own basic needs. Good luck with the festival, I said, putting the car in drive. You know what? Fine. Maya's voice cracked slightly, but her expression hardened. Leave me here. But don't come crawling back when Mom and Dave cut you off completely. Don't expect any of us to care when you have your next little meltdown. I should have driven away then. Should have left her with those words hanging in the humid summer air. But something made me pause with my foot on the brake. Maya, I called out. My little meltdown happens because when I was 16, I watched my best friend die in a car accident that I caused. I've never asked you to understand it. I've never asked you to fix it. I just asked you not to be cruel about it. And you couldn't even do that. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. For once in her life, Maya was completely speechless. I pulled out of the gas station and onto the highway, checking my rearview mirror to see her standing there among her scattered luggage, phone pressed to her ear. Probably calling Mom again. Or maybe an Uber. Part of me hoped she'd figure it out. Part of me hoped she wouldn't. The road stretched ahead, leading me home instead of to some music festival where I'd never belonged anyway. My phone, still in airplane mode, stayed mercifully quiet. The first hour of driving alone should have felt liberating. Instead, my hands kept shaking on the steering wheel, and I had to pull over twice to throw up on the side of the highway. Adrenaline crash, probably. Or guilt. Hard to tell the difference anymore. I kept my phone in airplane mode until I hit the state line, but the second I turned it back on, it exploded with notifications. 17 missed calls from Mom. 9 from Dave. 3 from Maya. And a string of increasingly frantic text messages. Emma, please tell me you didn't actually abandon your sister. Call me right now. Asterisk, your father is driving out there to get Maya. We need to talk, asterisk. I am so disappointed in you right now. Asterisk, Maya said you had some kind of episode. Are you safe to drive, asterisk? This is not how we handle family conflicts. The last message was from Maya herself, sent 20 minutes ago, asterisk, Mom's making Dave drive 4 hours to pick me up. Hope you're happy. You ruined everything, asterisk. I pulled into a McDonald's parking lot and called Mom back before I could lose my nerve. She answered on the first ring. Emma Rose Mitchell, what the hell were you thinking? Hello to you too, Mom. Don't get smart with me. Maya called me crying, saying you left her stranded in some random town because she hurt your feelings. Please tell me there's more to this story. The way she said, hurt your feelings, like Maya had commented on my haircut or something equally trivial, made my jaw clench. Did she tell you what she said to me? She said you had a panic attack and she tried to help but you overreacted. Emma, honey, I know you've been struggling, but you can't just abandon family members when you get overwhelmed. She tried to help, I laughed bitterly. Is that what she called it? What else would you call it? Maya said she was trying to calm you down and you just snapped. She's 19, Emma. She doesn't know how to handle these situations. Right. She doesn't know how to handle it. After 4 years of living in the same house as me. After watching me go to therapy twice a week. After sitting through family meetings where we discuss my triggers and coping mechanisms. She just doesn't know. There was a pause. Emma, your trauma doesn't give you the right to. To what? To have boundaries. To expect basic human decency from my own family. To abandon a teenage girl 4 hours from home. The accusation hit me like a slap. In Mom's voice, I could hear what she really thought, that I was unstable. Unreliable. The problem child who couldn't be trusted to act rationally. Maya is not some helpless child, Mom. She's a year younger than I was when my entire world fell apart and everyone expected me to just deal with it. That's different and you know it. How? How is it different? Another pause, longer this time. She called Dave crying, Emma. Actually crying. I hadn't seen her cry since she was little. The guilt hit fresh and sharp. Despite everything, Maya was still my little stepsister. Still the girl who used to braid friendship bracelets for me when our parents first got married, before everything got complicated. But then I remembered her face at the rest stop. The cold dismissal. The way she checked her phone while I struggled to breathe. I'm sorry she's upset, I said finally. But I'm not sorry I left. Emma. Dave's already driving to get her, right? So she'll be fine. She'll probably make it to her festival tomorrow if he drives through the night. This isn't about the festival anymore and you know it. This is about family. About trust. How am I supposed to trust you with important things if you bail the second it gets hard? The question lodged somewhere deep in my chest. How many times had I heard variations of this? How many times had my inability to function normally been held against me? Maybe you shouldn't trust me with important things, I said quietly. Maybe I've been trying to tell you that for years. The silence stretched between us, heavy with 4 years of accumulated disappointment. Dave wants to talk to you when he gets back, Mom said finally. We all need to sit down and figure this out. Okay. Emma, are you safe? To drive home, I mean. Such a loaded question. Was I safe? Was anyone ever really safe? Yeah, Mom. I'm safe. At least, I hoped I was. After hanging up with Mom, I sat in that McDonald's parking lot for 20 minutes, watching families filter in and out of the restaurant. Normal families. Kids complaining about Happy Meal toys, parents looking exhausted but functional. The kind of ordinary chaos I used to think I'd have someday, before I learned that some things break you in ways that don't fully heal. My phone buzzed with a text from my therapist, Dr. Chen. Checking in, how's the trip going? I told her about the forced bonding expedition during our last session. She'd given me her standard advice about setting boundaries and communicating needs clearly. I wondered what she'd think about my boundary setting methods now. Asterisk trip ended early. Long story. Can we schedule an emergency session for Monday? Asterisk. Her response came back quickly. Asterisk of course. Are you safe? Asterisk. Everyone kept asking if I was safe. Like safety was something you could measure in miles per hour and seatbelts. Like the most dangerous thing about driving home alone was the possibility of a car accident. Asterisk physically, yes. Emotionally. TBD, asterisk. I put the phone away and started driving again, but 20 minutes later it rang through my car speakers. Unknown number with a local area code. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Emma. It's Cassie. Maya's friend. My stomach dropped. I recognized the voice. Cassie had been over to the house a few times, the kind of friend who looked right through me like I was furniture. How did you get my number? Maya gave it to me. Look, I don't know what happened between you two, but she's really freaking out. She called me sobbing about being stranded and... I mean, can you just come back and get her? She said something about you having issues, but this seems pretty extreme even for... Even for what? The words came out sharper than I intended. I just meant, look, I don't know you that well, but Maya's told me about your situation. And I get that you've been through stuff, but she's my best friend and she needs help right now. My situation. Like trauma was a personality quirk instead of something that rewired your entire nervous system. Your best friend told me to get over my dead friend because it was inconveniencing her party schedule, I said. Dave's already driving out to get her. She'll be fine. She said you're making it sound worse than it was. She said she was just trying to help you not spiral. Help me not spiral. I had to pull over again. My hands were shaking and the white lines on the highway were blurring together. Did she tell you what she actually said to me? She said she told you not to let your anxiety ruin the trip. Which, I mean, I kind of get her point. My sister has anxiety too, and sometimes you do have to just push through it or you'd never leave the house. The casual dismissal in her voice was so familiar it made my chest tight. This was what Maya had been saying about me to her friends. This was how they all saw me, the dramatic sister who let anxiety ruin everything. Right, I managed. Just push through it. Exactly. I'm not trying to be mean, but Maya's been planning this trip for months. She bought her outfit, coordinated with all our friends, saved up money, and you just bailed because you got overwhelmed at a rest stop. Because I had a panic attack and she told me to get over my trauma. Okay, but it has been a few years, right? Maybe she has a point about not letting it control your whole life. I hung up. Sitting on the shoulder of Highway 64, emergency flashers blinking, I finally understood something that had taken me 4 years to see clearly. It wasn't just Maya. It wasn't just one cruel comment at a rest stop. It was all of them. Mom, Dave, Maya, Maya's friends. They all thought the same thing, that I was broken in an inconvenient way, and it was my job to fix myself enough to stop bothering them. But maybe being broken wasn't actually the problem. Maybe trying so hard not to bother them was. The drive home became a blur of gas stations and guilt spirals. Every few miles, my phone would buzz with another notification, but I'd learned to ignore them. What I couldn't ignore was the growing certainty that I'd just blown up my entire family for good. By the time I pulled into our driveway, it was nearly midnight. The house was dark except for the porch light Mom always left on when someone was out late. My Honda looked strange sitting alone in the driveway without Dave's truck. He was still 4 hours away, probably listening to Maya complain about me the entire drive back. I sat in the car for 10 minutes, engine off, staring at our front door. Part of me wanted to just keep driving. Find a hotel, maybe drive to Aunt Lisa's place in Oregon, disappear until this whole thing blew over. But running away twice in one day felt excessive, even for me. The house was eerily quiet when I slipped inside. Mom had left a note on the kitchen counter in her careful handwriting, *will talk when everyone's home safe. Get some sleep. Love you, *. The love you felt like a bandage over a severed limb. I was halfway up the stairs when my phone rang. Maya's contact photo, a selfie of her at last year's homecoming dance, filled the screen. Against every instinct screaming at me to let it go to voicemail, I answered. What? Oh, so now you pick up. Her voice sounded hoarse, like she really had been crying. Dave's been driving for 3 hours. Do you have any idea how pissed off he is? I can imagine. No, Emma, I don't think you can. He had to cancel his golf tournament tomorrow. Mom had to call out of her book club thing to stay by the phone in case something happened to you. You didn't just screw me over, you screwed everyone over. The guilt twisted deeper. Dave loved his monthly golf tournaments with his work buddies. Mom never missed book club, it was her one social outlet besides family obligations. I'm sorry about Dave's golf, I said, though the words felt hollow. Are you? Are you really? Because from where I'm sitting, which is a fucking Burger King parking lot in the middle of nowhere, it seems like you just wanted to punish me for being honest with you. Honest? The word came out as a laugh. Is that what we're calling it? Yes. God, Emma, everyone walks on eggshells around you. Everyone pretends your anxiety attacks are totally normal and we should all just accommodate them forever. I was the first person to tell you the truth, that maybe it's time to deal with your shit instead of making it everyone else's problem. The casual cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. My shit. Your trauma, your anxiety, whatever you want to call it. It's been 6 years. At some point, you have to take responsibility for getting better instead of expecting everyone else to manage your triggers for you. I sank down onto my bedroom floor, back against the closed door. Maya, I've been in therapy for 4 years. I take medication. I do breathing exercises and meditation and I've read every self-help book Mom's bought me. I'm not just wallowing in this. Then why are you still having panic attacks over random families at rest stops? The question hit like a physical blow. Because that's what I asked myself every time it happened. Why wasn't I better yet? Why couldn't I just be normal? I don't know, I whispered. Well, maybe if you spent less time making excuses and more time actually trying. I am trying. The words exploded out of me. Every single day I wake up and try to be the person everyone wants me to be. I try to be grateful and positive and not too much trouble. I try not to ask for help or special accommodations or understanding. I try so fucking hard to be normal that I can barely breathe most days, and it's still not enough for any of you. Silence on the other end of the line. Maya? Are you there? Yeah. Her voice was quieter now. I'm here. I didn't leave you there to be cruel. I left because I finally realized that trying to be who you all want me to be is killing me. More silence. Then, Dave says we'll be home around 4 a.m. Mom wants all of us to sit down tomorrow and figure this out. Okay. Emma. Her voice cracked slightly. I really am stuck here. In case you were wondering. The guilt crashed over me fresh and sharp. Whatever Maya had said, whatever she thought of me, I'd still abandoned my 19-year-old stepsister in a strange town. I know. I'm sorry about that part. But not the rest of it. I closed my eyes, pressing my back harder against the door. I'm sorry you're scared. I'm sorry Dave had to drive out there. I'm sorry this whole thing happened. But I'm not sorry I left when you told me to get over Sarah's death. A sharp intake of breath. I didn't. You did. That's exactly what you did. The line went quiet except for the sound of her breathing. We'll talk tomorrow, she said finally. Yeah. Tomorrow. After she hung up, I stayed on my bedroom floor until dawn, wondering if there was any way this family meeting would end with all of us still being a family. I must have fallen asleep on the floor because I woke up to the sound of Dave's truck pulling into the driveway. My phone showed 4:17 a.m., and my neck felt like I'd been hit by a baseball bat. Through my bedroom window, I could see Maya getting out of the passenger seat, moving like every muscle hurt. Even from 2 stories up, I could tell she'd been crying for hours. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle my windows. Then voices, Maya's high and defensive, Dave's low and angry, Mom's trying to mediate. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was clear enough. They were talking about me, and none of it was good. I stayed in my room until almost noon, too anxious to face whatever was brewing downstairs. Finally, hunger drove me out. The house felt different, charged with an electricity that made my skin crawl. Maya's festival duffel bag sat abandoned by the front door like evidence in a crime scene. Mom was in the kitchen, aggressively cleaning counters that were already spotless. She looked up when I walked in, and her expression was unreadable. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Such a loaded question. Tired. Dave and Maya are both sleeping. We'll talk this afternoon once everyone's had some rest. She paused in her scrubbing. Emma, I need you to understand how serious this situation is. Maya could have been hurt. Stranded alone, at night, in a town she didn't know. She wasn't alone at night. I left her at 4 in the afternoon at a busy gas station in a perfectly safe town. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Mom set down her cleaning supplies and looked at me directly. The point is that your father and I are questioning whether you're stable enough to handle adult responsibilities. The words hit like ice water. What does that mean? It means we've been talking about whether you should move back home after graduation instead of getting that apartment you wanted. It means we're wondering if you need more intensive help than you're getting. My stomach dropped. More intensive help. There are programs, Emma. Residential facilities for people who are struggling with. You want to have me committed because I stood up for myself. We want to help you because you abandoned your sister over a minor disagreement. Minor? My voice cracked. She told me to get over my best friend's death. How is that minor? Mom's face softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. Maya's young. She doesn't always express herself well. But your response was completely disproportionate to. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. Maya told you her version and you believed every word, didn't you? I believed my crying daughter who called me terrified and alone. What about your other daughter? Did you think to ask what might have made me desperate enough to leave her there? You're not my daughter, Emma. You're Dave's daughter. The correction was automatic, probably meaningless, but it landed like a slap. After 4 years of trying to blend this family together, when push came to shove, I was still just Dave's baggage. Right, I said quietly. I forgot. That's not what I meant. Actually, I think it's exactly what you meant. Before Mom could respond, footsteps thundered down the stairs. Maya appeared in the kitchen doorway, hair messy from sleep, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. She looked younger somehow, more fragile than I was used to seeing her. I heard voices, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. We were just discussing, Mom started. The residential facility thing. Maya's voice was flat. Yeah, I heard that part too. An uncomfortable silence filled the kitchen. Maya, I said carefully, about yesterday. Save it. She moved to the refrigerator, her movements sharp and angry. Dave wants to talk to all of us at 2 o'clock. He's got some things to say about trust and family responsibility. She shot me a look that could have cut glass. Hope you're ready. Something in her tone made my blood run cold. This wasn't just about a family meeting anymore. This was about to get much worse. The family meeting felt like a tribunal. We sat around the dining room table we only used for holidays and serious conversations, the kind of conversations that usually ended with someone grounded or someone crying. Dave had positioned himself at the head of the table like a judge, with Mom to his right and Maya across from me. I felt like a defendant. Dave cleared his throat and opened a manila folder I hadn't noticed him carrying. My stomach lurched as he pulled out printed papers. I spent some time this morning doing research, he said, his voice carefully controlled. About your condition, Emma. And about appropriate responses to crisis situations. My condition. Your mental health issues. The anxiety, the panic attacks, the inability to function in normal social situations. He spread the papers across the table like evidence. I found some very interesting information about personality disorders that develop after trauma. The words hit me like a physical blow. Personality disorders. Dave, Mom said quietly, we discussed this. Dr. Chen said Emma doesn't have a personality disorder. Dr. Chen has been treating Emma for 4 years and she's gotten worse, not better. Maybe it's time for a second opinion. Dave's eyes were cold as they met mine. I printed out some information about borderline personality disorder. The symptoms are very illuminating. My hand started shaking as he slid a highlighted printout toward me. Words jumped off the page, frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, pattern of unstable relationships, impulsivity that is potentially self-damaging, inappropriate, intense anger. This is ridiculous, I managed. You're not a doctor. No, but I am the person who had to drive 8 hours round trip because you had a tantrum and abandoned your sister. I'm the person who watched you manipulate this family for 4 years with your episodes and your triggers and your constant need for special treatment. Dave. Mom's voice was sharp. That's enough. Is it? Because I'm done tiptoeing around this. Emma's behavior yesterday wasn't a trauma response, it was calculated manipulation. She wanted to punish Maya for not coddling her, so she did the cruelest thing she could think of. Maya shifted uncomfortably in her chair, but didn't contradict him. That's not what happened, I said, but my voice came out small and uncertain. The highlighted symptoms seemed to glow on the page in front of me. Inappropriate, intense anger. Had my anger been inappropriate? Then explain to me what did happen, Dave said. Because from where I sit, you threw a fit when Maya tried to help you, then deliberately stranded a 19-year-old girl to get revenge. She didn't try to help me. She told me to get over my trauma because you were making her late for an event she'd been planning for months. Dave leaned forward. Do you understand that the world doesn't revolve around your feelings, Emma? That other people have needs and goals that matter too. The rational part of my brain knew he was wrong, but doubt was creeping in anyway. What if I had overreacted? What if my panic attack really had been just anxiety, and Maya's response really had been reasonable? Look at this, Dave continued, pointing to another highlighted section. Chronic feelings of emptiness and unstable sense of self. Stress-related paranoid thoughts. Does that sound familiar? Stop it, Maya said suddenly. Just, stop. Everyone turned to look at her. She was staring at the papers on the table with an expression I couldn't read. What did you say? Dave asked. I said stop. This is. She gestured vaguely at the printouts. This isn't what we talked about. My heart hammered against my ribs. Maya, what did you tell him? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I was upset. And scared. I might have made it sound worse than it was. The betrayal hit me like a truck. What did you tell them? The truth, Dave said firmly. That you've been unstable for years, that you use your trauma as an excuse to avoid responsibility, and that yesterday you finally crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. But Maya was shaking her head. That's not. I didn't say it like that. Then how did you say it? I asked. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. I was scared and angry, Maya said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I told them you seemed different. Like you were planning something. My blood turned to ice. Planning what? I don't know. You were so calm when you left me there. Too calm. And you kept saying weird things about not caring what anyone thought anymore, about being done with everything. She looked up at me with something that might have been guilt. It freaked me out, okay? You weren't acting like yourself. So you told them I was having some kind of breakdown. I told them I was worried about you, Maya said defensively. Which I was. You seemed kind of dangerous. The word hit me like a slap. Dangerous. That's what they thought of me now. Dangerous to who? I asked. To yourself, Dave said firmly. Maya was concerned that your behavior indicated a serious mental health crisis. The kind that requires immediate intervention. Mom was staring at Maya with a confused expression. But you told me Emma just snapped because you tried to help her calm down. I told you multiple things, Maya said, her voice getting defensive again. I was upset and scared and I said a lot of things. Maybe some of it got mixed up. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and I felt sick. You told them different versions, didn't you? You told Mom one story to make me look unreasonable, and you told Dave another story to make me look unstable. That's not. Which version was true, Maya? She opened and closed her mouth like a fish. They're both true. You did snap for no reason, and you were acting scary. Scary how? You were too quiet. Too controlled. Normal people don't just abandon their family members with that kind of coldness. Dave nodded grimly. That's exactly what concerns me. The calculated nature of it. The lack of remorse. Emma, do you even understand how wrong what you did was? I looked around the table at these three people who were supposed to be my family. Mom looked uncertain, like she was trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. Dave looked like he'd already made up his mind about my mental state. And Maya. Maya looked guilty but defiant, like a kid who'd been caught in a lie but was doubling down anyway. I understand that I left Maya at a gas station with her phone, her money, and multiple ways to get home, I said carefully. What I don't understand is how that makes me dangerous. The fact that you don't see the problem is the problem, Dave said. Normal people don't abandon family members over minor disagreements. Normal people don't make life-altering decisions in parking lots when they're emotional. So what are you saying exactly? Dave exchanged a look with Mom. We're saying that we think you need more help than you're currently getting. Professional help. The kind where you can focus on getting better without the stress of school and work and independent living. The residential facility. They were really serious about this. You want to have me committed because Maya told you two different stories about yesterday? We want to get you help because your behavior is escalating, Mom said gently. Emma, honey, this isn't the first time you've had an extreme reaction to stress. Remember the incident at your graduation party? When you locked yourself in the bathroom for 3 hours? I had a panic attack because someone was setting off fireworks without warning me. You barricaded the door with the toilet, Dave said flatly. Your cousin had to climb through the window to check on you. The memory made my cheeks burn. I'd forgotten how that must have looked to everyone else. And then there was the Christmas thing, Maya added quietly. My stomach dropped. What Christmas thing? When you left dinner and didn't come back for 2 days. You scared everyone. I went to Aunt Lisa's house. I called and told you where I was. After we'd already called the police, Mom said. I stared at them, realizing with growing horror that they'd been building a case against my sanity for years, cataloging every moment I'd struggled to cope as evidence that I was fundamentally broken. You've been keeping a list, I said slowly. Of everything I've done wrong. We've been worried, Dave corrected. And yesterday proved our concerns were justified. The room felt like it was shrinking around me. 3 faces staring, 3 different versions of concern that all felt like accusations. My chest was getting tight, but I couldn't let them see it, couldn't give them more ammunition for their case against my stability. So what exactly are you proposing? I asked, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Dave opened his mouth, but Maya beat him to it. They want you to take a gap year. Move back home, do intensive therapy, maybe try a residential program for a few months. Maya, Mom said sharply. We agreed to present this as a family. What, so you can gang up on me more effectively? I looked between them. How long have you been planning this intervention? This isn't an intervention, Dave said. This is a family meeting about concerning behavior that needs to be addressed. Concerning to who? I'm passing all my classes, I have a job, I've never been arrested or done drugs or... You abandoned your sister in a strange town, Dave repeated, like a broken record. That's not normal behavior, Emma. Neither is telling someone to get over their dead friend, but apparently we're not talking about that part. Maya flinched, and for a second I saw something flicker across her face, guilt, maybe, or recognition. But then Dave was talking again. Even if Maya was insensitive, your response was completely disproportionate. Do you understand that? Can you see how leaving her stranded was an extreme overreaction? The worst part was that a small voice in my head was starting to agree with him. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe normal people would have handled it differently. I drove her to safety and left her with multiple options to get home, I said, but even to my own ears it sounded offensive. You drove her to a town she'd never been to and left her crying in a parking lot, Mom said softly. Honey, I know you were upset, but that's not something mentally healthy people do. Mentally healthy. There it was, the line I'd apparently crossed somewhere between the rest stop and the gas station. Dr. Chen thinks I'm mentally healthy, I said. Dr. Chen has been treating you for 4 years with no significant improvement, Dave countered. Maybe it's time to consider that her approach isn't working. Or maybe, I said, standing up so suddenly my chair scraped against the floor, the problem isn't my mental health. Maybe the problem is that I'm surrounded by people who think basic human decency is too much to ask for. Emma, sit down, Mom said. We're not done talking. I think we are. I moved toward the doorway, but Dave's voice stopped me cold. If you walk out of this conversation, Emma, there will be consequences. I turned back slowly. What kind of consequences? The kind that involve us making decisions about your mental health treatment with or without your cooperation. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Maya was staring at Dave with wide eyes, like this was news to her too. You can't force me into treatment. I'm 22. We can if we have reason to believe you're a danger to yourself or others, Dave said calmly. And yesterday's behavior suggests we might have grounds for concern. My blood turned to ice. You wouldn't. We don't want to, Mom said quickly. Emma, please just sit down and let us figure this out together. We love you. We want to help. But Dave's expression was granite hard, and I could see he'd already made his decision about what kind of help I needed. Maya was looking between all of us like she was watching a tennis match, but something in her face had shifted. The guilt was more pronounced now, mixed with what looked like dawning horror. This is because of what I said, isn't it? She asked quietly. Nobody answered her. Maya, Dave said, his voice taking on a warning tone, we've discussed this. What you told us confirms what we've all been observing for years. But Maya was shaking her head, looking more distressed by the second. No, that's not. I was angry and I exaggerated. I made it sound worse than it was because I wanted you to be mad at her too. You told us she seemed disconnected from reality, Dave pressed. That she was talking about not caring if the family fell apart, that she seemed almost relieved to be burning bridges. Because I was pissed off. Maya's voice cracked. I wanted her to get in trouble. I didn't know you were going to. She gestured helplessly at the papers scattered across the table. This is insane. You can't send someone away because they hurt my feelings. This isn't about hurt feelings, Dave said firmly. This is about a pattern of increasingly erratic behavior that culminated in abandoning a family member. Emma has been spiraling for months. What months? I demanded. What's spiraling? Mom pulled out a small notebook, the kind she used for grocery lists, and my stomach sank as I realized she'd actually been documenting things. You missed 3 family dinners in a row in March. You stopped coming to Maya's soccer games. You've been isolating yourself, sleeping until noon on weekends, barely participating in family activities. I've been busy with school and work. You quit your campus job in February with no notice, Dave added. Your supervisor called here looking for you because you just stopped showing up. The memory hit like a punch. I've been having panic attacks every morning before my shift at the library, triggered by something as stupid as the way the fluorescent lights buzzed. I couldn't explain that to my supervisor without sounding crazy, so I just stopped going. And then there's the credit card thing, Mom continued, consulting her notes. My blood ran cold. What credit card thing? You opened a credit card without telling us and charged $800 in one weekend. That's classic impulsive behavior associated with. I bought textbooks and groceries, I interrupted, but even as I said it, I knew how it sounded. And it's my credit card. I'm an adult. Adults don't hide financial decisions from their families, Dave said. Adults don't make major purchases during emotional episodes. Maya was staring at the notebook in Mom's hands like it was a snake. You've been writing down everything she does. We've been documenting concerning behaviors, Mom said defensively. Dr. Martinez suggested it might be helpful. Who the hell is Dr. Martinez? I asked. The silence that followed was deafening. Dave and I had a consultation, Mom said finally. After the Christmas incident. We wanted a professional opinion about how to help you. You've been seeing a therapist about me. Without telling me. A psychiatrist, Dave corrected. And he agrees that your current treatment isn't working. He thinks you might benefit from a more structured environment while we figure out the right medication combination. The room started to spin. They'd been planning this for months. Building a case, gathering evidence, consulting with professionals about my mental state behind my back. Maya, I said, turning to my stepsister desperately. Tell them what you actually said to me at the rest stop. Tell them exactly what happened. Maya's face was pale, her eyes darting between me and Dave. For a moment, I thought she might finally tell the truth. Instead, she looked down at her hands. I don't remember exactly what I said. I was focused on getting to the festival. The betrayal was complete. I stared at Maya in disbelief. After everything we'd just been through, after seeing what her lies had unleashed, she was still choosing their side over the truth. You don't remember, I repeated slowly. Maya's jaw tightened, but she wouldn't look at me. It was a stressful situation. Things got heated. I said things, you said things. I said things. My voice pitched higher. Maya, I was hyperventilating behind a building and you told me to get over Sarah's death because you didn't want to be late. That's not exactly how. That's exactly how it happened. I turned to face Dave and Mom. She found me having a panic attack and instead of helping, she got annoyed because it was going to make her late to her festival. When I couldn't calm down fast enough, she told me it happened 6 years ago and I needed to stop using it as an excuse. Dave's expression didn't change. Even if that's true, abandoning her was still what? Still wrong. Still crazy. I laughed, but it came out hollow. What was the right response, Dave? Should I have just swallowed it and kept driving? Pretended it didn't hurt so Maya could make her party on time. You should have communicated your feelings like an adult instead of having a breakdown in a gas station parking lot, he said coldly. I didn't have a breakdown. I made a decision. A decision to abandon your sister out of spite. A decision to remove myself from a situation where I was being emotionally abused. The word hung in the air like a grenade. Mom's face went white. Emotionally abused? Dave's voice was dangerously quiet. Is that really what you're calling this family's attempts to help you function in the real world? I'm calling it what it is when people dismiss your trauma, document your behavior like evidence, and threaten to have you committed for setting boundaries. Maya shifted uncomfortably. Nobody's trying to abuse you, Emma. We're worried about you. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're all more worried about how my problems inconvenience you than whether I'm actually okay. That's not fair, Mom said quietly. We've bent over backwards to accommodate your needs for years. The therapy, the medication, avoiding your triggers, missing events when you can't handle them. And you've resented every second of it. The accusation hit its mark. I could see it in the way Mom's shoulders tensed, the way Dave's mouth tightened. We don't resent helping you, Mom said, but her voice lacked conviction. Don't you? When's the last time any of you asked how I was doing without it being about something I'd done wrong? When's the last time you acknowledged that I'm actually trying, instead of just listing all the ways I'm still not good enough? We acknowledge your efforts, Dave said. But effort without results is just what? Just proof that I'm too broken to fix. Maya made a small sound, almost like a whimper. When I looked at her, she was staring at Dave with something approaching horror. You really think she's broken? Maya asked in a small voice. Dave paused, seeming to realize he'd revealed more than he intended. I think Emma has complex trauma that requires more intensive treatment than she's currently receiving. That's not what you said last night, Maya said quietly. You said she was manipulative. You said she was probably beyond help. The blood drained from Mom's face. Dave, you didn't say that. But Dave's silence was answer enough. Oh my God, Maya whispered. You actually hate her. And there it was. The truth that had been lurking under 4 years of family dinners and forced bonding activities. Dave had never wanted me in his family, and my trauma had given him the perfect excuse to prove I didn't belong. The worst part was, looking at his face now, I realized Maya was right. He really did hate me. The silence that followed Maya's accusation was deafening. Dave's face had gone carefully blank, the same expression he wore when discussing work problems he couldn't solve. But his hands, clenched into fists on the table, told the real story. I don't hate Emma, he said finally, but even Maya looked skeptical. Then what would you call it? I asked, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Because documenting my behavior, consulting psychiatrists behind my back, and threatening to have me committed doesn't exactly scream parental love. Mom was staring at Dave like she'd never seen him before. Dave, please tell me you haven't been planning this without discussing it with me. We did discuss it. After the Christmas incident, after she quit her job, after. We discussed getting Emma more help, Mom interrupted. We never discussed having her declared mentally incompetent. That's not what I'm suggesting. Then what are you suggesting? Maya demanded. Because it sure sounds like you want to lock her up somewhere so you don't have to deal with her anymore. Dave's composure finally cracked. You want to know what I want, Maya? I want a family that doesn't revolve around one person's mental health crises. I want to go to dinner without checking the restaurant's noise level. I want to plan vacations without researching trigger warnings. I want my wife to stop walking on eggshells in her own house because Emma might have an episode. The raw honesty in his voice was more devastating than any of his calculated arguments. This wasn't about my mental health at all. This was about Dave being tired of accommodating my existence. So you've been building a case to get rid of me, I said. I've been trying to get you real help because clearly what we're doing isn't working. What we're doing? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor again. What exactly have you been doing, Dave? Besides keeping a list of my failures and consulting psychiatrists about how defective I am. I've been trying to be a father to someone who doesn't want help. You've never been my father, I shot back. You've been my mother's husband who got stuck with damaged goods in a divorce settlement. Mom gasped. Emma, that's enough. But something had snapped inside me, and the words kept coming. No, Mom, let's be honest for once. Dave married you thinking he'd get a nice, normal family, and instead he got a traumatized teenager who ruined his perfect suburban dream. And now that I'm legally an adult, he's finally found a way to make me someone else's problem. That's not, Dave started. It's exactly that. You want me declared incompetent so you can ship me off somewhere and get on with your real life. The one where you don't have to pretend to care about your broken stepdaughter. Maya was looking between us with growing alarm. Stop it. Both of you, just stop. But Dave was standing now too, his face flushed with 4 years of suppressed resentment. You know what, Emma? Maybe you're right. Maybe I am tired of organizing my entire life around your trauma. Maybe I am tired of watching your mother sacrifice her happiness because you can't function like a normal human being. Dave. Mom's voice cracked like a whip. No, Linda. She wants honesty. Let's be honest. Emma has been in therapy for 4 years and she's not better, she's worse. She's more isolated, more volatile, more dependent on us than she was at 18. At some point, we have to ask whether enabling this behavior is actually helping anyone. Enabling what behavior? I demanded. Going to school. Working. Trying to have a normal life despite the fact that my brain is permanently rewired by trauma. Manipulating everyone around you with your episodes. Using your triggers as weapons to control situations. Playing the victim whenever someone expects you to take responsibility for your actions. The accusations hit like physical blows. Is that really what you think I've been doing? I think you've learned that having a breakdown gets you out of uncomfortable situations. I think you've figured out that mentioning Sarah makes people back down from legitimate criticism. And I think yesterday proved that when emotional manipulation doesn't work, you escalate to more extreme behavior. Maya made a strangled sound. Dad, stop. But Dave was on a roll now, years of frustration pouring out. Do you know what it's like, Emma, to watch your mother cry because her daughter won't get better? To see her blame herself every time you have an episode? To watch her give up her dreams because she's afraid to leave you alone for too long? What dreams? I whispered. Mom was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Dave, please don't do this. She deserves to know, Dave said, his voice gentler now but somehow more devastating. Your mother got accepted to that master's program in Seattle. Full scholarship. She turned it down because she was afraid you'd fall apart if she moved away. The room started spinning. Mom had always talked about going back to school, about getting her degree in social work. I thought she'd given up on it because of money, or timing, or... You gave up Seattle because of me? I asked. Mom wiped her eyes with shaking hands. I made my choice, sweetheart. I wanted to be here for you. She's made a lot of choices, Dave continued relentlessly. She chose to move you back home after your freshman year when you were struggling. She chose to take a second job to pay for your private therapist when insurance wouldn't cover it. She chose to turn down the promotion in Portland because you couldn't handle another move. Each revelation hit like a hammer blow. All those times Mom had said everything was fine, that she was happy with her life, that helping me wasn't a burden. All lies, apparently. Or at best, half-truths designed to protect my fragile mental state. I never asked for any of that, I said weakly. You didn't have to ask, Dave replied. That's the problem. Your mother anticipated your needs and sacrificed her life accordingly, and you just let her. Maya was staring at all of us with growing horror. This is so messed up. All of you are so messed up. Maya's right, I said, my voice hollow. This family is toxic. We're all toxic. The family isn't toxic, Dave said. The situation is unsustainable. So your solution is to have me committed? My solution is to get you intensive help before you hurt someone. Hurt someone? Dave, I've never hurt anyone in my life. You hurt Maya yesterday. You hurt your mother every time you have an episode. You hurt yourself by refusing to get better. The conversation was spiraling into something ugly and unfixable, but I couldn't seem to stop it. For years of resentment and guilt and unspoken truths were pouring out like poison, contaminating everything. Maybe you're right, I said finally. Maybe I am beyond help. Maybe the kindest thing would be for me to disappear entirely so you can all get on with your lives. The words escaped before I could stop them, and the effect was immediate. Mom went white as paper, Maya gasped, and even Dave looked shaken. Emma, no, Mom whispered. Don't say things like that. But it was too late. I could see it in Dave's eyes. I just handed him exactly the ammunition he needed to prove I was a danger to myself. The silence after my words felt like a death sentence. I watched Dave's expression shift from anger to something colder, more calculating. He was already building his case in real time. Did everyone hear that? He asked quietly, looking around the table like he was addressing a jury. Emma just said maybe she should disappear entirely. That's not what I meant, I said quickly, but the damage was done. What did you mean? Dave pressed. Because from where I'm sitting, that sounds like someone who's given up on getting better. Maya was shaking her head frantically. She didn't mean it like that. She was just upset because you were being cruel. Was I being cruel, Maya? Or was I being honest about a situation that's been destroying this family for years? Mom finally found her voice. Dave, that's enough. We're all saying things we don't mean. I meant every word I said, Dave replied. And I think Emma did too. Linda, she just told us she thinks everyone would be better off if she disappeared. That's exactly the kind of statement Dr. Martinez warned us about. My heart hammered against my ribs. You discussed specific scenarios with this psychiatrist. What else did he tell you to watch out for? Dave pulled another paper from his manila folder. God, how much research had he done? Statements about being a burden. Check. Isolation from family activities. Check. Sudden calmness after periods of distress, like yesterday when you left Maya. That wasn't sudden calmness, that was me finally standing up for myself. Dr. Martinez says that's often how it looks from the inside, Dave continued relentlessly. The person feels empowered and in control, but their behavior appears increasingly erratic to observers. Maya stood up abruptly, her chair toppling backward. This is insane. You're twisting everything she says to fit your narrative. Maya, sit down, Dave commanded, using his stern father voice. No. This is wrong and you know it. Maya's voice cracked with emotion. Emma, tell them. Tell them exactly what I said to you yesterday. Tell them why you really left me there. But I was staring at Dave's papers, at Mom's notebook, at the carefully constructed case against my sanity. How could I fight this? Every word I said would be analyzed, every emotion catalogued as evidence of my instability. It doesn't matter what she said, I whispered. You've already decided what kind of person I am. We've decided you need help, Mom said desperately. Real help, not just weekly therapy sessions that aren't working. The therapy is working, I protested. I haven't had a panic attack in months before yesterday. But when you did have one, you abandoned your sister, Dave pointed out. That's not progress, Emma. That's escalation. Maya rounded on him, furious. She abandoned me because I was horrible to her. Because I said unforgivable things about her dead friend. Stop acting like she snapped for no reason. Even if you were unkind, Dave started. Unkind? Maya laughed bitterly. I was vicious. I was deliberately cruel because I was annoyed that her trauma was inconveniencing my plans. Emma didn't abandon me because she's crazy, she left me because I'm a terrible person. Maya, that's not true, Mom said automatically. It is true. And instead of holding me accountable for being awful, you're all trying to have Emma committed for reacting like any normal person would. Dave's voice turned dangerously quiet. Normal people don't abandon family members, Maya. Normal people don't tell trauma victims to get over their dead friends either, but somehow that's not making it into your little case file. She gestured at his papers with disgust. You want to know what's really sick? Emma's the healthiest person in this room. She set a boundary. She removed herself from a harmful situation instead of lashing out or staying to be abused. And your response is to pathologize her for it. I stared at my stepsister in amazement. After everything, Maya was finally defending me. Dave wasn't having it. Maya, you're 19 years old. You don't understand the complexities. I understand that you hate Emma and you're using her mental health as an excuse to get rid of her, Maya shot back. And I understand that I helped you do it by lying about what happened yesterday. The admission hung in the air like a bomb. You lied. Mom asked quietly. Maya's face crumpled. I exaggerated. I made it sound worse because I was angry. But Emma wasn't dangerous or crazy or any of the things I told Dave. She was just done with me. And she had every right to be. Maya's confession should have felt like vindication, but instead it just made everything worse. I watched Dave's face cycle through disbelief, anger, and something that looked almost like disappointment, not in Maya for lying, but in her for telling the truth now. So you made up the part about Emma seeming dangerous? Mom asked, her voice hollow. Maya nodded miserably. I was scared and angry and I wanted everyone to be as mad at her as I was. But she wasn't dangerous. She was just cold. Really, really cold. The calculated nature of it is still concerning, Dave said, refusing to let go of his narrative. Even if Maya exaggerated some details, the core issue remains. Emma made a deliberate choice to strand her sister out of revenge. It wasn't revenge, I said tiredly. It was self-preservation. You keep saying that like it justifies everything. Because it does justify everything. Maya exploded. Dave, you weren't there. You didn't see what I said to her, how I said it. If someone talked to me like that, I would have done way worse than leave them at a gas station. Dave's eyes narrowed. So you're defending her now? After she abandoned you crying in a parking lot? I'm defending her because I was wrong. Maya's voice cracked. And because you're all acting like she committed some horrible crime instead of just having a normal human reaction to being treated like garbage. But Dave was already shaking his head. Maya, you're traumatized from yesterday. You're not thinking clearly about. Don't. Maya's voice turned sharp. Don't you dare tell me I'm not thinking clearly. That's exactly what you've been doing to Emma for years, isn't it? Dismissing anything she says as unstable thinking. Mom was staring at Dave like she was seeing him for the first time. Is that what you've been doing? I've been trying to help a clearly struggling young woman get appropriate treatment, Dave said defensively. By keeping a secret file on her behavior. By consulting psychiatrists behind her back. Maya grabbed the notebook from Mom's hands before she could protest. Listen to this stuff. March 15th, Emma declined family movie night, claimed homework. March 22nd, Emma seemed withdrawn at dinner, barely spoke. This isn't documentation of concerning behavior, this is surveillance. I felt sick reading over Maya's shoulder. There were entries going back months, cataloging every time I'd been quiet, every social event I'd skipped, every moment I'd struggled to be the happy, grateful daughter they wanted. You've been watching me like I'm a lab rat, I said quietly. We've been trying to identify patterns so we could help you, Mom protested, but she sounded uncertain now. Help me what? Disappear more efficiently. Dave slammed his hand on the table, making all of us jump. Enough. Emma, you're twisting everything to make yourself look like a victim. Yes, we've been documenting concerning behaviors. Yes, we consulted a professional. Yes, we think you need more intensive help. These are the actions of people who care about you, not people trying to get rid of you. People who cared about me would have asked what I needed instead of deciding for me, I shot back. We did ask. For 4 years we've asked. And your answer is always the same, everyone else needs to change to accommodate your issues while you continue getting worse. Maya was flipping through the notebook, her face growing paler with each page. Oh my God. You wrote down when she cried at Thanksgiving? When she couldn't eat the turkey because it reminded her of, she looked up at me with horror. Emma, they documented your grief response to Sarah's favorite meal. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. That Thanksgiving had been brutal, the first time I tried to participate in a family holiday since the accident. I'd made it through dinner but broke down when Mom brought out the same stuffing recipe Sarah's mom used to make for potlucks. I thought they understood why it was hard. Instead, they'd written it down as evidence of my instability. That's not what that entry says, Dave protested. Maya read aloud, November 25th, Emma became emotional over food, left dinner early. Excessive reaction to normal holiday stress. She looked up at him with disgust. Excessive reaction. She was grieving. She was having an episode that disrupted everyone's holiday, Dave corrected. Because she remembered her dead best friend. Jesus Christ, Dave, what is wrong with you? What's wrong with me is that I'm tired of watching this family tear itself apart because we're all too afraid to admit that Emma's current treatment isn't working. Mom finally found her voice. Dave, some of these entries, this one about her sleeping until noon on weekends. That's not concerning behavior, that's college student behavior. And this one, Maya continued, flipping pages. Emma seemed distant at church, didn't participate in fellowship hour. She looked up at me. You hate church. You've always hated church. Being distant isn't a symptom, it's a preference. Dave's face was getting redder. You're both missing the bigger picture. Individual incidents might seem normal, but the pattern. The pattern is of a young woman trying to heal from trauma while being micromanaged by people who don't understand mental health, Maya interrupted. I stared at my stepsister in amazement. This was the same girl who'd rolled her eyes at my therapy appointments, who'd made jokes about my medication, who told me to get over it just yesterday. Maya, I said carefully, why are you defending me now? Her face crumpled slightly. Because listening to them talk about you like this, it's making me sick. And because I finally get it. Get what? Why you left me there yesterday. Why you've been pulling away from all of us. She gestured at the papers scattered across the table. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a problem to be solved. Dave's voice turned cold. That's enough, Maya. You're too emotional to be objective about this situation. And there it is, Maya said quietly. Anyone who disagrees with you is too emotional to be objective. Just like Emma's too unstable to make her own decisions about her mental health. She was right. And the worst part was, I could see it working. Dave's systematic dismissal of anyone who challenged his narrative. The way he positioned himself as the only rational voice in a house full of unstable women. Dave, Mom said slowly, I think we need to step back from this. All of us. Linda, don't let them manipulate you. This is exactly what Emma does, she gets people to side with her by playing the victim. But Mom was looking at the notebook in Maya's hands with growing horror. Some of these entries. Dave, you wrote down when she had nightmares. When she cried during movies. When she needed extra time to get ready for social events. All symptoms of untreated trauma, Dave said. All normal responses to grief, Mom countered, her voice getting stronger. Dave, what were you planning to do with all this information? The question hung in the air like an accusation. And that's when I realized that whatever Dave had been planning, we were probably about to find out. Dave's silence stretched on until it became its own answer. Maya was still holding Mom's notebook, and I watched her flip to the back pages, her expression shifting from anger to something approaching horror. Oh my God, she whispered. Dave, what is this? She held up the notebook, showing us pages covered in Dave's handwriting. Not the clinical observations from before, but what looked like a detailed plan. Phone numbers, facility names, legal terminology I didn't understand. Mom leaned forward, squinting at the page. Dave, are those admission forms? My blood turned to ice as the pieces clicked into place. You weren't just documenting my behavior. You were building a commitment case. I was exploring options, Dave said defensively, but his voice lacked conviction now. Dr. Martinez suggested that if things escalated, we should be prepared to have me involuntarily committed, I finished. That's what this is, isn't it? You've been planning to have me declared mentally incompetent. Maya was reading from the notebook, her voice shaking. Involuntary hold procedures, financial power of attorney, conservatorship options. Dave, you were planning to take control of her entire life. Mom snatched the notebook from Maya's hands, her face going white as she read. Dave, these forms are already filled out. You have her social security number, her medical information. She looked up at him with something approaching revulsion. How long have you been planning this? Since Christmas, Dave admitted, and the casual way he said it made my stomach lurch. After she disappeared for 2 days without explanation. I realized we needed contingency plans if her behavior became dangerous. Dangerous to who? I asked, but I already knew the answer. To the stability of this family. There it was. The truth, finally spoken aloud. This wasn't about my mental health, it was about Dave's comfort level. Maya slammed the notebook shut so hard it echoed through the room. You're sick, she told Dave, her voice filled with disgust. You're actually, genuinely sick. Maya, you don't understand the legal complexities. I understand that you've been planning to imprison your stepdaughter for the crime of being traumatized, Maya shot back. And I understand that I almost helped you do it. She turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Emma, I am so sorry. For yesterday, for everything. You were right to leave me there. You were right about all of it. I stared at her, barely able to process what was happening. After 4 years of feeling like I was going crazy, of doubting my own perceptions and reactions, my 19-year-old stepsister was finally seeing the truth. Mom was still staring at Dave like she'd never seen him before. I want you to leave, she said quietly. Linda, don't be dramatic. I said leave. Her voice was steel now. Pack a bag and get out of my house. We'll figure out the rest later. Dave's face cycled through disbelief, anger, and something that might have been panic. You're making a mistake. Emma needs help, and without structure. The only mistake I made was letting you convince me that my daughter was broken instead of healing, Mom said. Get out, Dave. Now. The next hour passed in a blur. Dave packed a bag while Mom called her lawyer, Maya made tea with shaking hands, and I sat in the kitchen feeling like I was watching someone else's life unfold. When Dave finally left, slamming the door behind him, the house felt different. Lighter, maybe. Like we could all breathe again. Emma, Mom said, sitting down across from me. I owe you the biggest apology of my life. I nodded, not trusting my voice yet. And I owe you one too, Maya added. For yesterday, and for everything before yesterday. We talked until dawn, really talked, maybe for the first time in years. About Sarah, about trauma, about what healing actually looked like versus what Dave had wanted it to look like. About boundaries and family and the difference between helping someone and controlling them. Maya cried when I told her exactly what she'd said at the rest stop, and apologized so many times I had to ask her to stop. Mom cried when she realized how close she'd come to losing me entirely to Dave's campaign of documentation and pathologizing. I cried too, finally, not from panic or overwhelm, but from relief. From the exhaustion of finally being able to stop defending my right to exist as I was. So what happens now? Maya asked as the sun started coming up. Now we figure out how to be a real family, Mom said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. One that doesn't require Emma to be perfect to deserve love. It wasn't going to be easy, we had 4 years of damage to undo. But for the first time since the accident that changed everything, I felt like I might actually have a chance at healing. Not the kind Dave had wanted, where I pretended to be normal for everyone else's comfort. The real kind. The kind where you get to keep all your broken pieces and build something beautiful anyway.